So the last component I want to talk about is just fellowship programs. The statute that Mark talked about, actually in the statute Congress addressed wanting fellowship programs, although they didn't really clearly define what they meant by that. But it had to do with building scientific capacity, and so we're in the process of figuring out how these programs will work. We're creating a blanket MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with FDA in terms of how these will work, sort of what are the rules, what's FDA going to do, what are we going to do, how is this going to operate together. And then for each fellowship program there will be an addendum that will be specific to that fellowship. Part of the reason this is important is because if you start moving people in and out of the FDA, as you can imagine, there could be issues related to conflicts of interest and proprietary information, and so we're trying to figure out how do we do this. I guess in all of our programs we're trying to work on improving science, but at the same time we have to be mindful of conflicts and transparency. So we've got that in process. And so the IMEDS Fellowship pilot that I talked about a minute ago will be one of the first projects. And then we're also looking at an International Toxicology Fellowship where we would bring some individuals, scientists from countries like China, South Korea, and India into the Toxicology Center, which is the only non-regulatory part of the FDA, and have them do some training there with the FDA. And the countries themselves would fund that research through Reagan-Udall, or fund that training rather through Reagan-Udall. So I think this program has probably the most potential out of all of them. I think already we see probably 6 or 7 different possible fellowship programs that are starting to come to light, that are percolating. We're getting a lot of ideas coming in. So I think this will be a very large program ultimately for Reagan-Udall, and I think it could include not only sort of classic fellowship programs, but potentially mentoring relationships and other forms of training, and in the case of IMEDS, potentially even degree programs working in combination with academic institutions. So I think this is an area where we actually have a lot of potential moving forward. So I think that's it. Do you want to add to that?
Let me ask if any board members, others, Stephen, Vicki, any comments to add? Thanks for a very wide-ranging overview of the broad set of activities underway.
I think one important comment to add on the fellowship program is that there's a provision in the fellowship program by statute that allows for the fellows to be engaged with the commercial confidential information, and that's a big distinguishing factor for us, an important one, because we have many challenges in bringing in outside expertise from academia, for example, with respect to how we can allow them to engage with CCI, and it's virtually impossible in a fellowship program. So this really gives us a new tool for us to bring in people at many different levels, not just at a traditional sort of fellowship level, but mid and even senior career levels that can contribute to helping us solve problems, both administrative as well as analytical or scientific within the agency.
Before I forget, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh,
You
I'm
came in
sorry
late.
I'm late.
And then I'll get Diana.
I'm Vicki Seifert-Margolis. I'm the Senior Advisor for Science and Innovation in the Office of the Commissioner.
And Diana Snuckett, so you can introduce yourself.
I'm Diana Zuckerman. I'm President of the National Research Center for Women and Families and on the Board of Directors.
Thanks.
Tachi?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little background to the TB program. The TB program was one that I initiated as part of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Being a member of this board, and at that time, it wasn't quite clear what the board was going to be able to do and how we could go forward. But at the Gates Foundation, we had a problem. It was a regulatory one, which is how do we develop a new triple drug first-line treatment for tuberculosis. The reason why 50 years had gone by between the first program of treatment and now is that it's so difficult to create a first-line treatment with 3 new drugs and all of them having to go through a very complex protocol before they could be combined. And we thought this is a very important sort of a regulatory science issue and one that working through the Reagan-Udall Foundation, we could actually make some headway, and of course our partners with the FDA and the Critical Path Institute. It was also very important from my standpoint, sitting at the Gates Foundation, to demonstrate that the Reagan-Udall Foundation can provide value for more than just pharmaceutical industry interests, which was one of the key concerns about the foundation at the outset, that from a not-for-profit organization standpoint, this foundation could serve a very important humanitarian scientific mission, and it was for this reason that I was really pleased that we were able to get this TB program off the ground through the RUF.
Thanks, Tashi. We appreciate the context. Other comments from board members?
I just want to say a special thanks to Tachi for sticking in there with us. It was, there was almost every day, is the money here, is the money here, is the money here, but believing in us and sticking with it, so thank you. Special thanks.
So
All right.